Hello and welcome to my paper video. This is my final paper presentation for ECI 517. I feel I have learned a lot from this class, and this paper has helped me to further understand some of the paradigms and technology discussed in the class. The purpose of this paper is to analyze constructivism and behaviorism in the context of a self-regulated English learning environment that is focused on instructional technology. A review of both of the paradigms will be given in this context, as well as that of self-regulation in general. This will be followed by a review of instructional technology and some highlights of how instructional technology and the paradigms relate. And this will, of course, be seen in the light of English language learner, specifically, one that is in an English environment and is learning English as a second language there, such as an immigrant to the United States. So to begin, constructivism focuses on a number of points, but three relevant points are discussed in this paper are building one's own thinking and students having problem-based learning, and also relevant material that is going to impact the student more because it is something that relates to their life. It is also how a student builds their own worldview, and so, or constructs their own worldview. And we'll talk about that more later. Behavioralism focuses on stimuli and habit building, and habit building, of course, plays a part in students' everyday life, as habits are things that are done daily. This is especially relevant for self-regulation, because if it is not a habit, then it will not work out very well. Also, some of the technology, they can support both behavioralism and constructivism through self-regulation. So some of the highlights of this paper include the digital technology that can be used from each paradigm. For instance, Anki. Anki is an app and a website that allows students to make their own flashcards, digital flashcards, that students can use to help to learn and study material on their own. It also allows students to download decks made from other students learning similar material, which can save time in making their own deck. And since it allows students to make their own decks, it is geared toward constructivism because it has relevant material, so they're not going to be learning words or phrases or whatever they need to learn that is not stuff that is relevant to them. So it allows personalization and for them building their own thinking. Behavioralism has two very similar technologies that I discussed in the paper. Duolingo is a website / app that allows students to study a language such as English, and it gives their primary language that they're learning from, so they translate to and from that language to English. This is particularly relevant for behavioralism because there's a lot of stimuli that they use. There's rewards, there's also some degree of punishments, there's trophies that students can earn, and it really encourages habit building and students to self-regulate on a more consistent basis. Rosetta Stone is similar to Duolingo. It has some more activities such as speaking and listening more, and it goes more into detail into different ways of learning, but its stimuli are a little less developed than Duolingo's. But they're both very good technologies that can be used in a self-regulated manner. So my rationale for choosing these topics is because I'm an ESL teacher. I believe that using technology to teach students is important. I also believe that students need to self-regulate. I show in the paper that English cannot be learned simply from classroom learning. Learning a language affects all parts of a person's brain. English must not simply be new words used to describe things or different grammar ways, but it's also a whole new way of thinking. It's a whole new worldview of viewing life, and from that it is a constructivist really plays an important part. It's also practical learning. It is students show they learn material that is important and relevant to them, and this helps students to focus more and to self-regulate more because they will see improvements in their daily life. Language is a series of problems, so it fits into problem-based learning because the problem is how and what to communicate. So it fits very well with the constructivist paradigm. In conclusion, behavioralism and constructivism are two paradigms that can benefit from self-regulation based instructional media. Both have their own pros and cons, as well as a plethora of digital instructional hypermedia to use for English language acquisition. In addition, self-regulation is an important part of language learning, as language cannot be taught only in a classroom setting. For instance, if a student goes to an ESL class, they are only there for about an hour, but they have to speak English the entire day, particularly during school hours. And so the self-regulation has to be in place on a consistent basis, and it's also from students being able to learn things that are relevant to their things that they input the types of information that they need throughout the day, and so they know what words they need to know and what ways of thinking they need to practice more on. So that is how most of my paper addresses that stuff. Some of the text used and resources are the Jonathan text, and also some other ones that are focused more on the different paradigms, and also ones that are focused on ESL specifically in those. For instance, as Vadio, he's talking about instructional technology and how self-regulation in hypermedia is important. And Al Muhammad, constructivism and reflectivism as the logical counterparts in TESOL or ESL language learning versus teaching methodology. And that was very important in understanding how students are able to process language in relation to instructional technology.